we were, sending out invites, and as a joke, we were like, hey, we should invite Boz. And, he tracks down Boz's email, shoots an email saying like, hey, I know this is a Hail Mary. I'm sure you're very busy. We've come up to connect, but, if you'd like to come have dinner with us, you're welcome to. And within about an hour, we get an email back saying, hey, Austin, I can't make it for dinner, but I'll come by for drinks. And he did. Andrew Bosworth, CTO of Meta, came by for like an hour and a half.
All right, welcome back to the Worlds Beyond podcast. My name is Don Kianian.
And I'm Benjamin Wiener.
And it's just the core duo back at it again for a special Meta Connect episode. Ben, you were just out here in California for Meta Connect, is that right?
That's right. We got to hang out. We saw our friend Ubi. Had some pizza. I actually got to see quite a few of our past guests. On Monday, I hosted in conjunction with a few other studios a networking dinner. That was quite fun. So we got to see Arturo. We got to see some of our other clients, Nick Hill from Sawhorse. We saw Morgul, of course, and many others. And it's actually very funny. So one of the other hosts, Austin from Illuminated Studios, known on the platform as Meta Jesus, released Spin the Bottle, one of the more popular games. We were, sending out invites, and as a joke, we were like, hey, we should invite Boz. Shoots an email saying like, hey, I know this is a Hail Mary. I'm sure you're very busy. We've come up to connect, but if you'd like to come have dinner with us, you're welcome to. And within about an hour, we get an email back saying, hey, Austin, I can't make it for dinner, but I'll come by for drinks. And he did. Andrew Bosworth, CTO of Meta, came by for like an hour and a half. Vishal came with him, which was very, very cool. Chatting, nothing earth shattering, no major industry secrets spilled, but it was very cool. And before he left, we went to take a selfie. And I'm not a big social media guy. So I'm up there, I'm struggling to hold the camera with one hand, and Boz says, let me do that. He took the phone, took the selfie, and my, friend Jessica from the Kawaii Creators went ahead and took a photo of Boz taking a selfie with me. So it's very funny. But no, it was awesome. So, part of what I love about conferences like Connect is you're just surrounded by everybody who's in it. And the energy is there, and everybody's excited and wants to collaborate and work together. So the energy, is just really great. The whole community is very supportive. We had the Creator Summit and then directly into Connect. But you get to see a lot of faces that we speak to on a daily basis, but, live halfway across the country.
Yeah. And, there was a lot of announcements that came out of Connect, which we're definitely going to dive into. But just talking about, getting the chance to reconnect and meet with some of these people in person. I think I saw a video that Jessica posted showing, you guys out at this drinks and dinner, saw Arturo there and a Morgul there and stuff. So it was really great to see like all of the virtual guys, coalescing in a real space. But yeah, talking about all these people, that we've had on in the past, you get to reconnect with them. Maybe it'd be good to catch up on some of these projects that we've mentioned in some of our past episodes. Yeah. So last episode, we had the New Canvas folks on and talking about Pop and Drop. Since then, they've, did the update for the Jaws 50th anniversary and been doing a big push around that too. So it's been really cool. But
basically, Pop and Drop, of course, did very well. I don't remember if we mentioned on a previous episode, but it did win an award for Best Use of Camera API, which was very cool. So congratulations to Nathan and his team. We have been working with Sawhorse on a game called Comic Royale, which soft launched. By the time this episode comes out, it should be officially launched. So that's very exciting. It's sort of like in the style, of cell shading, comic book, inspired by comic book heroes. You'll be able to go in an arena and battle it out in a few different game modes, which is very cool. What we are launching right now, as I speak, is an enormous update to Thieves and Warlocks, which is one of Immortal's games. Our team totally redid the art. We converted everything from code blocks to TypeScript, and that got released a few weeks ago, and seems to have gotten quite a bit of traction. We added a bunch of new features. There's 4 new tiles. There's new shops. You can unlock wands and tower toppers, and there's just so much more to do. There are now like super abilities. So like the warlock has like a lightning wand, and like the thieves can like reveal the map, which is very, very cool. So super, super excited for that to come out. Internally, we're working on a new game called Frogs. It's going to be a blind box tycoon game, but centered around frogs. We're just really excited.
Playing off of the plants and bugs kind of sequence of games, right?
It's on brand. It's on brand for us, for sure. For sure. Speaking of like projects that we're working on, one of the things that I foresee for next year is people are going to have to start porting their Horizon worlds to the new studio that they announced. Mark Zuckerberg at the Meta Connect keynote announced, first of all, a shocking amount of time spent on VR. Last year, nothing. Radio silence. They didn't want to mention it. I mean, I think they were still reeling from Selfie Gate with the Eiffel Tower pic. But a shocking amount of VR, reaffirming their commitment to VR, basically saying, look, just because we're not outwardly showing something now doesn't mean we're not working on it. And they announced the new Horizon engine and the new Horizon Studio. So, Horizon engine is the engine that's built on. Studio is the editor. It felt like he went out of his way to avoid saying Horizon Worlds. So this is an evolution of, it's strange because everything is named Horizon now, right? It's the Horizon OS, it's the Horizon platform, it's the Horizon engine, the Horizon Studio. This is the next evolution of Horizon Worlds, and they are going to have parallel support for both sort of, I guess, like versions, right? So if what we're on right now is version 2.0, when the original is VR only editor in code blocks and primitive shapes, that's still supported. But then they brought in the desktop editor, which was like Horizon 2.0. And then 3.0 is now this new Horizon Studio, which theoretically, very exciting, is going to have 5x player concurrency, which like what it sounds like that means is like, oh, you're going to be able to have 5 times as many players. But what that really means is you are going to have 5 times the capacity to do whatever you want, right? Because, the avatars are the most performance impacting objects, right? Entities within Horizon Worlds. When you're in there, they have the highest level of detail, do dynamic lighting on them. They move, they're animated constantly, dynamically with the player. They have to do it for VR and for desktop editor. So there's a lot going on, right? So 5X means like you can make an incredibly detailed single player game or a very simple like 150 player game, right? We're going to see a nice wide range of what's possible on the platform. I think we're going to see, honestly, like the easiest thing to do is to release a bunch of like Fall Guy clones, right?
Right.
If you can make really simple platformers, then you can have 100 people playing them. That's what the Fall Guys is. They're not hard. I'm anticipating to see a lot of those from the creator community.
And like you mentioned, going forward, creators are probably going to need to port their world over into Horizon Studio. What does that like level of effort look like?
It depends. Art is art, right? Like an FBX is an FBX, no matter what platform you're on. So you are going to have to like import it in there, but depending on your workflow, like if you set everything up in Blender, you're just going to re-import that Blender file, right? As an FBX, theoretically. Let me rewind here and preface that I haven't had access to the studio yet. I'm going off of public information. We had a couple of Q&As that, where they showed a little more information, but it's not public yet. And it's not like, quite frankly, not so impactful that it even matters whether it's public or not yet. It's just that like we don't know what we don't know. So what we do know is that there is not parity with the current platform yet. That doesn't mean worse. It just means different. So there are going to be, it's going to be some elements where it's like really, really strong. Lighting is one of the areas where they called out, player concurrency and all that. And then there are going to be areas that aren't there yet. We don't know what that is yet. We do know that while it is still using TypeScript, that it is a completely different API, and that's where the porting is going to be problematic. Meta has committed to supporting this development platform in parallel with the existing development platforms. So you're going to see your app grow by a few gigs, I'm sure. That is not indefinite support for desktop editor. So those are really the two platforms that are talking about. Like headset's its own thing. That's on life support right now,
right.
Unfortunately, because I think it's great. But you will not have VR editing with Studio. Desktop editor and VR and the VR in headset editing, you can access the edit, like the project file in both. This new Studio will not have that VR access. You'll have to publish it to test it in VR. Although you will be able to develop VR content on it. A little disappointing, in my opinion.
I was gonna say, like, what that probably has a lot of, or creates some additional hurdles for creators who just want to like build and test these worlds. Right now, you have to like build it and deploy it before you can test it, versus just like hopping into the world, right?
So I think you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, the number one thing is that this is going to be great for studios. This is going to be a professional grade engine. Yes, they still need to like build some features, you know, but I mean, this is something that must have been in development for years at this point. You know, I'm expecting like professional studios that are looking to develop on Horizon are actually going to like this new developer kit quite a bit. I think that the issue here, and we're a UGC platform, so we can't just think about the professionals. You got to think about the hobbyists, the tinkerers, the semi-professionals. What is there for them? There's sort of two directions that it can go. So they're going to release it's going to be professional grade. Very steep learning curve. I know that there are a lot of creators who are struggling with TypeScript as it is. I know that there are creators who struggle with Blender and like learning those tools that have been out forever. So my feeling is that most creators who are not doing this at a professional level, or they're not doing this as their full-time job, are basically, they're going to take one look at Studio. They might try it for a week and then say, I'm just going to keep using the tools that I have because they're going to be supported for the next 2 or 3 years. And then in 2 and 3 years, or 4 or 5, or however long it is, Meta's going to say, okay, we're cutting support.
Right.
And what that means is that presumably, right, Meta will have reached out to the top worlds and been like, hey, you need to port this over, right? They're not just going to cut the switch. I'm sure they'll give, 6 to 12 months runway for people to do it. But you're going to be in a position where we're going to lose thousands, if not tens of thousands of worlds when that happens, because most creators, either they're not on the platform anymore, or they are just doing it for fun, or they just like haven't developed the skill sets to do it, right? They're not going to port over most of that content. I would be very surprised if something like Spin the Bottle didn't get ported over. Right. Like that's a top world.
Yeah. Back when I was first hopping into Horizon Worlds, it was back when it was just the headset editor. Right. And I built just like a chill space with Ubi, and it was like just to hang out, and we could just chat and whatever in this Horizon world that I created. And then, once they made the push to mobile, they auto mobilized it or whatever so that I could access it on mobile. And I walked through it a little bit on my mobile app just to see if it worked. And it did for the most part, and it was fine, whatever, right? But like, I'm not going to go through all the headache and effort of trying to figure out how to port this world into the Horizon, into the Studio, just so that I, in the off chance that me and Ubi want to hang out in it one day down the line, you know what I mean? Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, you built it for you, and I think in those early days in particular, the game on Horizon was the creation tools. Yeah. And that's shifted, certainly, right? Like the creator population is a much smaller percentage of the world of Horizon Worlds than it was in the beginning. But I will say that those tools help provide foundational skills that develop the creator community that's there today. Not everybody, and that's okay. Some people are still using primitives, using code blocks. Some people are doing that and finding incredible amounts of success. I mean, look at Immortal. Like his most popular worlds are all code blocks and primitives, and they look great and they're fun, and it's the mechanics, and he's managed to build a really, really great community around that. So that's my biggest concern, is that we have this professional tool. New users that are not game developers are going to struggle with it. You'll have like a few people who sort of figure it out, but it's not going to be the sort of mass democratization of world creation that we've seen. I mean, like if you go over to if you go to RDC or a Roblox conference, or even just like go talk to Roblox creators, you'll talk to these people. They're like, hey, I'm 24 years old and I have 12 years of game development experience.
Right.
And it's like, wow. And the reason for that is Roblox made their tools really easy to use. Is a very low barrier to entry. And like when they say that they have, 10 to 12 years of experience in their early 20s, it's true, right? They do actually have that level of experience creating content. And that's where the innovation comes from. Larger, more corporate studios are coming in, and it's not that they aren't making quality stuff, but it's safe. And it has, a certain je ne sais quoi that, you can kind of tell like, okay, this was made by a professional studio. This was made by someone who just likes to make things for fun. But the innovators come from the people who have been swimming in the platform for a decade, or have been, in Horizon's case, half a decade. And it's those younger creators more often than not. I'm in my 30s, and I like to think of myself as a decent game designer, but even I struggle to keep up with the type of content that like Gen Alpha is consuming at a rapid rate. Look at Steal a Brain Rot, look at Grow a Garden, right?
Yeah.
There are people who have been on the platform, who know what works. It's not highly polished. It's not always it doesn't always work 100% of the time. It's a little janky, but they're fun. And that's what those younger audiences are looking for.
Some of that work that you had mentioned that you had been doing with Immorgal on Thieves and Warlocks, like moving it into the TypeScript and all that stuff, was that to kind of preempt some of this stuff that or it just happened to coincide with?
We just happened to be doing it before they announced Studio. We're really, really excited for it. It's really good. But, let's say like Thieves and Warlocks continues to, go up and do really well. I imagine we'll have to do it again over to the new Studio. So it will be easier now that we've done it once, because like all of the art is updated and all that. But there's no like convert TypeScript button. Things are just going to behave fundamentally differently. And so that's going to take a while. So what I'm really worried about is that because we're losing this democratization of creation, is that we're not going to develop those like 22-year-old, 24-year-olds in 10 years that have that level of experience that you see on Roblox on Horizon. Now, Meta has said that they're committed to lowering that. They're like starting high and then lowering the floor over time. But they've been recently releasing a lot of AI tools. And it's not that they aren't helpful, but they are tools. They're not replacements. Basically, there are two ways they can go. They haven't said what they're doing yet or what the plan is. Number one is they could integrate a solution similar with what they had in the in-headset tools. But another in-headset tool would be great. But even barring that, some sort of visual code scripting language like Scratch, that sort of integration, or their own, bring code blocks to 2D, have the primitive shapes, have the asset library that people can like kit bash things together, or they can say everything's AI. And the problem with AI is that while it lowers the floor, it also lowers the ceiling. And there's a lot of foundational learning that you get from this sort of Scratch language, this physical language, that you're not going to get from AI. One of the things that, I was playing around with vibe coding. I was having it make, it's pretty easy to give AI, 1 to 3 steps of instructions for basic platforming. Like, if you want a moving platform, it'll just do it. If you want to build like a spike pit, it'll just do it. It's very straightforward. But then if you want something like a player manager that is tracking players as they enter the world, it's a little more abstract and it's a little more complicated. And you can't just say, hey, give me a player manager.
Right.
So you have to start with saying like, hey, I've got an object. I need it to register itself with a parent object on entry. Okay, and put that into an array. And then it's like, okay, now when a player, with the parent object, when a player enters the world, it needs to take that player and it needs to send it to the object in the array that matches that, matches the player index, and assign it to that player, and have it save that player as its like active player variable. And it needs to so on and so forth. And it's just like there's a lot of layers to it. If you don't fundamentally understand how to do that, you're just not going to be able to do it. You're going to say like, I need a player manager, and AI will say, oh, how do you want me to do that? And you'll be like, oh shoot, well, I don't know.
Yeah, I think this is one of the things we were talking about when we were at Ubi's place, right? Is that like, while these AI tools are lowering the barriers in some ways, right? Like they're like if you take like generative AI, like writing a blog post as a very basic example, right? It can do a lot of the writing for you and just write stuff.
Yeah.
You as like the ideator of the content, right? You need to like have a vision in your mind of like how the story you want to tell, how you want to lay it out, the details you want to include and stuff. Otherwise, the tool's just going to go for the like most generic approach. Is not going to hit any of the marks you need to. And it's like, okay, well, what was the point of me even going down this route in the first place?
If you say, AI, write me a persuasive essay, and you don't know how to write a persuasive essay, how do you know that it's doing it right? And you know, look, AI can do a good job, but it's not going to do a great job. You know, it does a good job at scale, or a mediocre job at scale and quickly. For anything complex, you really need to understand what it's doing and what it's trying to do. Your experience can't be a black box, or when something inevitably breaks because the platform is constantly updating, you really have to know what's happening, what's going on.
Yeah.
But speaking of AI, that was another one of the big announcements. New AI wearables. So Ray-Bans, Oakley's, very cool. They also showed the display. They had two very exciting live demos.
I heard about these, yeah.
Which, you know, Wall Street must have liked what they saw because their stock went up, you know?
Yeah. There's something to be said for a live demo, even if it doesn't work at all.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, you know, I think on stage, Mark thought it was the Wi-Fi. And then afterwards, Boz released a statement saying that basically, like when they said, hey, Meta, it activated every pair of Meta AI glasses in the room, which was like a few thousand people. And they, you know, crashed the system that way, which like, it's a live demo, right? But yeah, no, I mean, like, I'm definitely going to be picking up a pair of, you know, the Ray-Ban displays. Part of it, you know, they have the neural band that they shared, which, you know, it's exciting. The controls are quite intuitive. It's very much like, you know, you just move your thumb back and forth, you scroll, you tap to click. It makes sense. It just works, right? My hope is that it's going to replace my watch. You know, I use an Apple smartwatch right now. It's all right. I have a lot of the notifications on it turned off. What I like about the Apple Watch, and what I like about like smartwatches in general, is it gives me an excuse to not take out my phone. Right. And to be more present, right? Like that's, to me, that's the biggest benefit of a tool, of something like that, is that it's helping me engage more with reality. And I think these glasses can do that. I am going to be very tight about like what notifications go to the glasses for sure, right? Because I don't want to be
just constantly having something flitting in front of your eye,
flitting in front of my eyes. Yeah. You know, I think again, when we were at Ubi's and we were chatting, he made a great call out that I hope they can detect when you're driving, because
for real,
you know, you're driving with one hand going like this, like
I don't know.
You know, not a problem for me because I walk everywhere, but
well, yeah, I mean, like some of the features and capabilities in these glasses seem really cool. Me as someone who is extremely directionally challenged, right? Like just like having the head tracking and the overlay of the map that like shows where your head is facing and stuff, like having to pull out your phone and use the gyroscope to like use the compass and get that directionality that way is one thing. That's fine, whatever. But I don't know if it's just me. I feel like it's always like 30 degrees off. Like it's never fully the way I'm facing.
Yeah.
But like having something that's tracked to your head, it's leveraging, I would assume it's leveraging some of like the cameras for like the surrounding environmental awareness and stuff.
So it's not AR. It is just a little 2D display right there, but it'll be able to bring up your mini map, right? It's like real life mini map over your vision. Look, it's the first step. I think it's important to learn this technology because this is the future. Yeah. That, you know, it's coming. And right now it's you know, on head wearable AI. And it can see what you see, it can hear what you hear when you allow it to. Their vision for the future. So when Steve Jobs saw like the first computer, and Steve Jobs said, like, this is inevitable. this is how everybody will be doing this. Everybody will have this. This is how I feel about wearable tech, wearable AI. And they talk about contextual AI. Now, contextual AI is always on AI.
Right.
It is always aware. It was always seeing what you're seeing, and it's making suggestions. It's streamlining your life. It's getting the context from not just the internet, but the lived experiences of other people, right? You know, in 20, 30, 40 years from now, you won't be inheriting grandma's cookbook. You'll be inheriting grandma's contextual AI database. And so when you think to yourself, man, I miss grandma's cookies. How did she make those? Your glasses or whatever they are at that point will be like, oh, let me help you with that. And we'll step by step, you know, you'll go to the grocery store. It'll have the list ready for you of what you need. It may even order ahead already, those ingredients. You're just picking them up, or has them delivered within an hour of you even conceiving of wanting to do this.
And it's also tapping into like a global knowledge base too, right? Like it's not like, oh, I misplaced grandma's recipe. How am I going to find it? It's like, oh, well, I'll use that person's grandma's recipe, you know?
Right. Or, hey, give me 10 family recipes and let me pick one. I mean, like, I think a better example of that is, you know, like networking and going to conferences. And so you might, you know, like maybe you're tapping into a global network, or maybe, you know, when you go to GDC and you're a game studio head and you want to network with people, you're probably going to connect into like the GDC hub, right? And it'll be like, hey, like log in with your AI and like get connected. But you'll also probably be subscribing to other people in your industry that are influencers in that specific area. So if you show up, you might subscribe to Benjamin's networking network. You might subscribe to Don's network. You might subscribe to Arturo's network, or Eugene's network, or Ubi's network. And so when you show up, your AI is going to go into, you know, Web3 or whatever, into the cloud, and talk to the other AIs and say, hey, this is what my guy needs. Let's set up some meetings. And you'll show up, and before you even walk through those doors, you'll have a calendar filled with meetings that they've already set up. So it's just one way that this is just going to streamline what we do and, you know, 10x what we can do on our own. However,
there's always got to be
However, data has societal bias. We have found, right, that like when we train AIs, there's societal bias, and there's a lot of societal bias towards white men. Tesla's got called out because their cameras couldn't detect people of color and was running them over in testing. And I was speaking with Lena, who is one of the producers over at Cluj, fabulously talented. She brought up this concern that, and rightfully so, that like, okay, so it knows what you need. It sets up all these meetings, and they may actually be helpful, and they may actually grow your business and 10x your business. But you go to those meetings, and maybe 9 out of 10 of those calls are with older white men, right? And because they're so helpful, it's very difficult to even notice the bias because you're getting what you need. You're making the connections you need to connect. What about subscribing to people like Nick Fuentes? Right? Subscribing to people who, you know, make a living off of spewing hate and causing division. Right now, it's already bad enough with social media and people getting sucked into these areas. And so it's just like, where are the guardrails for something like that?
And if, you know, for example, Meta is providing this contextual AI service, or say it's Google providing a contextual AI service, whatever, any of these platforms providing this service, they probably will inevitably have some hands in the pie to like muddle the algorithm and serve content they think is more relevant to people in certain ways, like the same way that social media platforms are doing now, right? But with AI, their aspiration is to be able to streamline that and make it more effective and more relevant, right? But then it's like, okay, then you get into the potential of implications of like, you know, tweaking these algorithms too far and getting your echo chambers and that sort of thing too, 100%. Right?
Yeah. It's not just an echo chamber, it's a voice in your head.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And that's what it is that the thing is like that's the subtle nature of it, is that this tool is so useful, and it is like it can be so good, and it can improve everything about your life. However, all the good things that it 10x's, it has the potential to also 10x the bad things. Yeah. And so, there's certainly a lot of concerns there. It feels like the death of privacy to me. Some people care about that more than others.
It's really interesting you bring that up, right? Because like there's a couple things that I've seen converging, especially recently, that feel like night and day from even like 10, 15 years ago, right? So like you take the AI and the data privacy aspect of it all, right? And like people were super concerned about their data privacy
Google Glass
not too long ago. And now it's like, no, we'll just give this data away so we can have AI however we want it, right?
Right.
Yeah, like you were saying, the Google Glass aspect of it all, right? Like when we had like this very early prototype of smart glasses, everyone's worried about these always on cameras and these things and not knowing when someone's using it and that sort of thing.
Well,
and
Google
now
got crucified for that.
And these Ray-Ban displays are arguably even more subtle about it, right? You can't even tell when someone's got the little, display going on their Meta Ray-Bans.
Right. It's like, am I paying attention to you or am I not? Like you don't know that. Thankfully, you do have the light that shows when you're recording at the very least. But like with contextual always on AI, you're just going to have to assume that it's always on.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, look, the internet changes. I think society changes. You're going to have to make a decision about like, hey, do I want the benefits of this, or am I going to keep on being like a solo human, right? Or am I going to link into the communal intelligence, right? But I mean, like, think about 20 years ago. Don't talk to strangers on the internet.
Right.
Don't get into cars with strangers.
Right.
Now you're ordering cars. Basically ordering from a roulette of strangers on the internet to drive you places. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
And society changes. And this is one of those things that I think is coming. And it's just like, again, I think the networking example is a really great example of this. It is the future because it is so powerful and regulation is so slow to follow technology. I mean, we basically, sped run social media and look where it got us.
Yeah.
And now we're like, okay, now let's do AI, but faster.
Yeah. It's crazy. And like, even if they speed run these regulations through, just look at TikTok, right? No one's enforcing like a TikTok ban either, right? So it's like, if people aren't going to get behind the regulations, they're not going to get enforced. You're just wasting time at that point and you're not actually helping anyone. Going back to the societal bias element of the contextual AI that you mentioned, we were talking like how like these AI tools, they can like lower the barrier for people, but you also need to have some of that knowledge and like stuff in your mind when to actually get true value out of it, right? Do you think that this contextual AI stuff, some of that societal bias can be overcome by like really taking a concerted effort to like train the model and say like, hey, account for diverse voices and opinions that I might not necessarily agree with, exclude voices that specifically target hate speech, like stuff along those lines?
You could. Yeah. Right. Look, I mean, like browsers, like the development of browsers, I think that's what we're going to see. So like Google is going to have their contextual AI network. Meta is going to have their contextual AI network. Apple is going to have their contextual AI network. Super new, unheard of upstart company startup is going to have their own network. There are going to be like many sub networks. What goes on one network might not on another, right? Like you'll have an open source one that anybody can use, and like maybe they can tap into each other, maybe they can't. But it's just going to be, there are going to be these different sort of walled gardens, and it's just going to like, sure, like what you said, like totally. I'm sure that there are people that lean more conservative that would say, well, that's just a woke echo chamber and we don't want that. What is hate speech? Like, I think I have a very clear definition of what that is.
Yeah.
I don't know that America as a whole has a very clear agreement on what is and isn't hate speech.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we can get Jimmy Kimmel to comment on that.
Oh, man. Yeah. That would be,
It does concern me, but it's coming. We have to learn this technology. We have to learn how to use it because nobody's going to say slow down.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's just not going to happen. It's not realistic. So like how do we adapt to this technology? How can we take action now to like positively reinforce, good behaviors? How can we retrain things to be more inclusive? I think those are the right questions to be asking. Hopefully the people who are developing this technology are being mindful of that and are looking to create, self-regulations, at least to start, until bureaucracy can catch up. Mm-hmm. If it ever does.
Yeah.
It is one of the things that I am simultaneously most excited about and terrified of at the same time. Mm-hmm. But obviously, like next week, I'm going out and getting my updated eye exam, and I'm going to buy a new pair of these glasses.
Course. Yeah. So I mean, between kind of like the three big Meta Connect announcements we covered, the Horizon Engine in Studio, the Ray-Ban displays, and the potential contextual AI of it all, right? Would you consider yourself net excited or net concerned about the future?
Yes. There's good and there's bad coming. I think on all. I think like the glasses, the display, the tech is amazing. It's very cool. I'm very excited for it. I'm gonna dive into it, play around with it. I already have a pair of the Snap spectacles. I'm excited to play with those and AR and stuff like that. I'm a techie. I like tech. I like integrating tech into my life. I'm all about making my life easier. And so if this technology can help do that, can help 10x what I'm doing, twice the input for a tenth of the effort, right? Or 5 times the output for a tenth of the effort. Great. Fabulous. That doesn't mean we can't stop being mindful of the pitfalls and all that, right? It's like really excited to bring your birthday cake, your butter pecan, pie to a party, and not stopping to ask, is anybody deathly allergic to nuts?
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Should I bring a label? Right. Mm-hmm. It's not don't make the pie. Right.
Yeah.
It's make sure it's labeled, make sure that it's just common courtesy. Right.
Yeah.
But technology is skiing down a hill and there are no brakes.
Yeah.
And it's going to get to the bottom one way or another.
Yeah. It's getting there for sure. Yeah.
So,
and are any of these tools, I mean, it's still early days. You haven't necessarily got access to them, but are any of these like sparking any ideas in your mind for like projects that are on your docket or coming into your pipeline? Like, maybe I'll consider doing some of this stuff in Horizon Studio for this project or anything along those lines?
I have nothing to announce at this time. The answer is yes. The answer is yes, definitely. Always thinking about what's next, but nothing to officially share at this time.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, so I guess then people will have to subscribe to stay tuned.
Tune in next time.
Yeah, see if we have any big announcements on the next episode. Yeah. Cool. I mean, we definitely covered a lot of great ground here. I think there was a lot of, big things that came out of Meta Connect, a lot of funny moments also. And I think it all points towards what you've been saying and what a lot of people have been seeing over the last couple of years. It's just like, this tech is moving and it's time to get on board or you're going to get lost in the dust.
100%.
As we start to, wrap up here, are there anything you want to point people towards? I know you mentioned some of the projects that just got announced, the Thieves and Warlocks. Yeah.
Go play Thieves and Warlocks. Incredible in VR. It's great on mobile. We also released Magnet Dream recently, which is a mobile only game on Horizon Worlds. That's very fun. But the release today is Thieves and Warlocks. Next month we'll say go play Comic Royale because that'll have been the launch will have been finalized by then. But
yeah, go play Thieves and Warlocks. Snap a quick video or a photo of yourself in the game. Tag us, Worlds Beyond on TikTok. Tag him, Morgul too. Heck, he'll see it. All the other stuff still stands. Leave a comment if you have any questions about Meta Connect or just broadly about the industry that you want us to address on the next episode. Drop us a like and a subscribe and stay tuned for future episodes of the Worlds Beyond podcast wherever you get them. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.